Welcome everybody to an all new episode of Street Geeks. And oh my god, we are reacting to the latest episode 5 of Ahsoka. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, John J, and with me is my co-host, the one and only Stu Dog. Holla at the people, Stu Dog.
Hey, how's it hanging, people? Good to hear from you. Good to see you. Glad to be here talking some Star Wars.
Yes, Sirski.
I
Ladies
got
and
my
gentlemen,
Goku shirt and everything.
yeah, and especially with the mention of the Super Saiyan last week. So, boom, boom. I see what you did. But, ladies and gentlemen, man, before we get into this head explosion, please give us a like, share, and subscribe, and comment. Talk about what you loved or hated about this episode 5 of Ahsoka. Stu Dizzle. I'm hyped. I don't know about you. What did you think, man?
That episode was everything I was intending or hoping that it would be.
Yes. Yes, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, this unscripted, no notes, first reaction, just watching it. I know this is probably going up the following day, editing time and all of that, but this is Tuesday right after the show aired. And instant reaction, head explosion. Spoiler warning. Again, spoiler warning.
We're fresh right off the rip, bro. Like, right off it.
Man. Okay, so one of your theories came true with the Purgle taking her on. I wasn't sure how they was gonna travel. I didn't expect to travel by mouth.
Hey, man.
That was
Like,
not on the list of theories.
yeah, I mean, two things. Like, it was the Purgle, of course, was the big one, and the second one is that I think we both knew that Hera had to go back to the fleet and smooth out the wrinkles with the
Yeah.
New Republic and all since she went AWOL. But
And
like,
go ahead.
man, oh, the flashbacks with Anakin, huh?
Oh man. Before we jump on that, while you're talking about Hera, and she redeemed her mothering by trusting the Force.
Yeah.
Um, Without Jason, they wouldn't have found Ahsoka. So, hey, good way to bring
I
back
know.
bad parenting, Dave.
Oh, he had
I see
he
what you did
like
there.
yeah, like I said, our boy Dave Filoni, man, he doesn't do anything without a purpose. There was a reason Jason was gonna be there. He wasn't there just for the ride. And Hera's not like doing it without reason either. He has apparently, some pretty strong connections with the Force. He was
Yeah,
able to hear that Ahsoka was out there. He was hearing echoes, and that's not an easy thing to do. Like, he's not even a Padawan, and like some Padawans have to get training before they can even commune like that.
the Force is strong with this
That was good.
one. But man, yeah. I hope we get more and more of Jason. The pull of the Force is gonna be too strong. Like, we got to see this journey. I don't want to see like skips in the process, and I know they will because that's what they do. But I want to see the journey. The kid is good. The actor, I don't know his name, is playing him, but kid is good. I'm digging this. We got the right amount of Jason. He was the hero in this episode. But you lay into it, man. Yes, the flashbacks. We got live action Clone Wars.
Yes, we did.
What?
Anakin, and man, they made Anakin look pretty good too. Like,
Dude,
especially.
I know I'm old enough to have come up right at the end of the original trilogy. It came out in 81. It came out 81, 83, 81.
I think it was
I was
3.
born in 82. So, I've technically been around through,
You were there.
yeah. So I don't want to step on toes of anyone that prefers a particular generation. I get down with them all. Obviously, the newest one is my least favorite, but I still like the movies as standalones. But oh my god, mine is just blown from this. It's got me rambling so much. But this version of Anakin, I like better than the prequel version. I'm sorry.
Well, that's how that's exactly what it's supposed to be like, because we're seeing Anakin as he was during the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
If you watch the animated series, he looks just like him. So I was really happy to see that. I didn't think or expected that to happen.
It was perfect. Like,
oh, and we gotta make sure. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there before we forget. But like we saw that how Ahsoka was tied to the clone troopers. You saw like how it affected her during that wartime. She was very close with the clone troopers, just like all the Jedi were. And on top of that, we saw Rex, and Leia was mentioned in this.
yeah,
Senator Organa.
Yeah, nice little shout out. I wish we could have gotten Tamora Morrison, without the helmet on, but I get timeline wise, that version of Rex is way younger than Tamora Morrison.
I bet nobody is more bummed out about it than Dave Filoni. I'm sure he had to.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had to make certain choices that were probably tough in order to fit budget for the show. I mean,
yeah, but it was fitting. The way it was done, it was fitting. While he's still in battle, running to the next one, why would he take his helmet off? Like, it makes sense. So, that's not a knock or a critique at all. It was so dope, man.
I mean, in order to fit that budget too, the lightsaber battles were incredible. I mean, even though they were short and they weren't as flashy as some stuff we have seen before, very well done. And on top of that, just seeing the silhouette of Vader in between explosions.
When he was coming back through the light bridge, walking towards it, and you seeing him flash on the second half. So I believe you called that too. It's just that's the place that they went when they die, as far as the Anakin being in that world.
Yes.
So he was both sides. He was the light and dark. He had memories of both. He open knowledge of both. It was him, but it was, I'm guessing, his spirit, his beyond.
But it leaves a greater question too about him being there. He helped Ahsoka get back on track, but what was the lesson? I think the lesson, and I'm going to take a shot at it now. He's like, live or die. And I think the lesson is that Ahsoka hasn't had anything truly to live for, so she needs to live. And I think he's trying to get her to find her drive again, because she's been very ambiguous, She's very up in the air about things. I mean,
I think that was an expedited way of saying move on. The last time we saw Ahsoka was after she fought Vader. I know she was pulled out World Between Worlds, but she went back through that same door. So the last time we had saw her before this show was after she fought Vader / Anakin, however you want to look at it. So yeah, she's been bummed throughout this whole time. So she's been fixated on that, likely. I thought my master flipped, turned to the dark side, and he just about killed me. So
I think you're right. Yeah,
I think that was she said, "Live." That's the lesson. Live. Get over it. You know,
Yeah,
my
like
journey
move
is over
on.
with. Move on with yours.
Yeah, I
And
think
that was the
that's
lesson.
actually a better way to put it. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah,
It's
I kind of ran. I kind of go off in my little hood rambles and whatnot, but eventually I get there.
now remember something we were talking about earlier today. Uh, we had a very important moment with Ahsoka. Not that it hasn't happened before in the animated show. I mean, depending on what you want to classify as something that fits this category. But Ahsoka had her moment where she was faced with the trial that most Jedi have to go through, the proper trial, which is you have to face the inner darkness, which is like, like with Luke Skywalker on Empire Strikes Back, went into the cave and tried to fight himself, more or less, is what he ended up finding and such. And I kind of like thought about how we were talking about that earlier today, and I was thinking, oh, this is kind of like one of those moments where they have to go into a force a force realm, I guess you could call it, or area, and literally deal with the manifestation of their inner turmoil.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I like that. Did it answer any questions for you that you had last week?
Yeah, I think it did. We got the Purgle one answered, which I wasn't really much of a question. That was something I was pretty sure about. Um, but it answered the question of what's going to happen to Hera, which was something I wasn't entirely sure because I could have seen that go in a few different ways. But the strongest one that I felt ended up being the result, which is she's going to stay behind and she's going to deal with the outcomes of her choices,
Yeah, she got
and
an answer to it.
which means Jason is also going to stay there. So Ezra is not going to see Jason unless they come back, which is something I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting Ezra to come back. I mean, we have an actor that is playing him, and it was kind of a big deal. So I don't think they're gonna just do that just to give us a snippet and then leave him there. I'm fully expecting. I don't know for sure, but yeah, that's my expectation. I'm expecting to see Ezra back, and I'm expecting to see Thrawn back. Um, from the get go. I mean, even in the trailers, we saw Thrawn walking on what looked like that same ship. Um, so yeah, that's been my expectation from the jump. But um, man, I'm still in head blown mode. It was such an amazing episode. Dave Filoni directed this, but the child that played young Ahsoka, oh man, she was spot on with Clone Wars. And another thing, I'm processing as it's popping up in my head, but we saw Ahsoka without a headband on. I
Yeah,
believe that's the first time ever, and it was a little
yeah,
jarring. It was weird. It was like, wait, what's
it
different?
was. It
Something's
is.
different about you.
You're right on that. I mean, I feel like everyone who knows Ahsoka must have felt that way. I did too. I'm glad you brought it up. It is the first time we see her without the headband, and it was strange. It was
Yeah,
jarring because there's no interruption between the color of her skin meeting her, Leiku, and all, which is that's what those are called. The head tails is called a Leiku
yeah.
or
Um,
Liku.
I, I gotta refer to you when it comes to the pronunciations of these.
I think
Um,
it's a Leiku.
but just in the flashback scenes, how we had Anakin in it, the switch back and forth, just cinematically, just see the eyes go from normal to yellow and then back to normal when she's passed her trial, or just oh my god, just this. I wish that this was the Anakin that we got in the movies. um,
Well,
this,
yeah, I mean,
but this is a nod to Hayden Christensen and how good he is. He famously has previously said that his whole mission in the first in the prequel trilogies was to be the emotionless um, Darth Vader. So that was his muse that he had to work on. Now he has the animated Clone Wars as a muse, and it was money. It was
Yep.
money. That was the for me. Clone Wars is what like I liked the prequels. I liked him in it. I understand now, at least in adulthood, what he was doing. But it was the Clone Wars that fleshed that out. That really made me love Anakin. Anakin is my favorite Star Wars character because of Clone Wars. And that's the version that we got. So I'm on 10. I'm breaking through the roof. My hype level.
And Anakin is supposed to be the character that everyone can relate to in Star Wars because he didn't have a typical Jedi upbringing. You know, he came in late to the Order. He had attachments. He had emotions, and everybody else around him who is a Jedi has much easier time about it because they had no family, they had no attachments beforehand. So they've been raised entirely by the Temple. And like you said, the Clone Wars animated series offers more substance to Anakin, and you get to know him better and know what he's been through and the trials he faced and why he was the greatest Jedi of the Jedi Order. And Hayden always did a great job of being Anakin. It's just that there wasn't a lot for people to work off of because what you're supposed to see is like I remember people used to complain that Anakin was like some whiny dude and this and that. I'm like, well, yeah. I think if your mom was a slave and then you join an order of monks and then you get involved in a war, I mean, like you're gonna probably have some issues, unresolved stuff, especially when nobody is there emotionally, and emotion is supposedly, not looked upon really well, especially if you are a user of, magic, and your magic is dictated by more or less how you could control and influence those emotions into a positive or negative way.
Yeah. Um Absolutely. Like, yeah, go through all that and still make it out without being whiny at least a little bit. Or
I mean,
yeah, you do it. Let me see.
yeah, he's supposed to be relatable. I mean, if your mom was killed by a bunch of like native people and you came back to rescue her, how would you feel if you found her, held her in your arms, and she died?
And I'm being trained by people telling me to not use any emotion.
Yeah, you kind of might go on a murder spree too if you're like, you killed my mom.
Yeah. Um which
But
led to
like,
my probably my favorite scene of that movie. Um but yeah, just bow to Dave Filoni. Okay, so on the flip side, after she came up out of there, um, was the water coming up kind of like symbolism as well as switching worlds? But was it symbolism like purifying her? Is that why she's in all white now? Is this Ahsoka the White?
you know, I'm glad you said that. I think it very much could be. I think she passed her trial and she came through on the other side successfully. And like like we were saying, the lesson was life or death. Pretty much how you framed it, which is like you need to move on with your life because you're stuck in the past of how things could have been because of me. Like you're guilt ridden because you weren't with me. You're got no drive and no direction anymore because of everything that's happened. And after she passed the trial, facing her master for the last time and getting some closure. Yeah, I think you're right. That is some good symbolism, which also reminds me. I was pretty sure, and that's another thing I think I said in the last one, which is like we're not really going to see how you get in and out of the world between the worlds, because it was more of that like mythological, like you don't need to know this kind of detail. You have the information you need. Move on.
Yeah, and I also thought it was cool for Jason to be able to hear what was going on. Um, our only the only time we've ever seen World Between Worlds. And I have not read all of the books. I'm reading the Thrawn trilogies now.
Oh, you
Um,
are?
yeah, the Heir to the Empire.
Okay.
I'm on the second book. But as far as I know, the only time that I've seen World Between Worlds was in Rebels, and there were no other Jedi around, but Ezra from our perspective. So this is the first time we've seen it. Someone in tune with the Force can hear what's happening on the other side. Um,
It's not the first time neither in Star Wars history, because one of the things that I really like about this calls me back to, is how Luke and some other Jedi and people in other expanded universe stuff, or as people know it now as Legends, is that what we're watching is the development, like what would probably be the beginnings of what is the development of a Jedi before there was a Jedi. Like learning to be in tune with your instincts and nature around you, and that's what Jason was doing, and seeing that.
and it's
Because
oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and more recent Star Wars lore, we are as the audience are hearing, we're able to hear the voices. Like when Ray fought Palpatine and heard all of the "Come on, Ray! Come on, Ray! Come on, Ray!" All of the Jedi voices. Um, are they showing us how we get that? You know, are we, since the world between worlds is just a connection of all space and time, just a meeting point? Are, is everybody hearing? If if you tuned into it, can everybody hear what's all going on at all space and time in that given moment?
The answer is no, unfortunately. It's only select individuals, usually people who have strong connections with the Force. Some, like just like in Dragon Ball Z, there are people with power levels. In Star Wars, it's the same way. There are people who have stronger connections to the Force, and there are others who are weaker in the Force. Funny
So
enough, Obi-Wan is one that actually doesn't have the strongest connection to the Force. Ironically, he was almost kicked out of the Jedi Order because a master did not select him, because his inherent ability to not have a strong connection with the Force. And that was a whole book and everything. But like he worked hard, and he eventually became a Jedi Master. He's not powerful in the Force by any means, but he's wiser and understands it more. And what promotes better control and connection with the Force is understanding. So what Jason had there was like something very few Jedi find or think to do, which is he just opened himself up to it and allowed the Force to commune through him. That was like
gotcha.
a lesson. Like that's probably his first lesson with the Force at that time. But he was just following instinct and nature, which that I really like that,
Without
especially
a
with
trainer or without a master.
and,
Yeah, that's impressive.
and but Huang, man, we emphasized on like last episode, like he told them to stick together. And how is Huang
It's the
doing in
first
this
thing
one?
he said on this episode. Yeah. But just real quick, to piggyback on your previous comment, because that's interesting. Like I said, this is the first time that I've actually seen it. Any semblance of someone else being able to hear what was going on in the world between worlds. Um, so you think a lesser Jedi, a weaker Jedi, would not have been able to pick up on that?
Yeah, um, yes, in a way. And see, this is another thing too. Is like why Jedi don't procreate, because like Jason's father was Kanan Jarrus, And Kanan Jarrus was a Jedi. He was part of the Ghost crew from Rebels, you know. And um, it doesn't mean that the child will always be a Force sensitive. It's just that like when that happens, they can tend to be really strong, but at the same time, there's going to be a very deep emotional tie with the Jedi that fathered or mothered the child. So like that's going to be a lot of interference right there. It's the attachment is the problem. But like no, he's we're literally seeing how like Jedi would evolve and become, but without an order, and probably what would be like the first formations of it. So like he's learning the lesson because not all Jedi are the same, and not all lessons they receive are the same, and they're sometimes found, sometimes they are given, and I think that was one of those times where like Jason was given a lesson by the Force.
I
He
dig that.
received it,
I
and
dig
then
that.
he passed it.
I tell you what though, it's you mentioned about the order and they're not supposed to um have uh children, or not supposed to have that emotional connection with anybody. Um, that to me, that was one of the weaknesses of the Jedi Order. I hope maybe I'm in the minority. I'm not sure. It's not like I took a poll on this. Y'all let me know in the comments if y'all agree or disagree. But that was one thing I did not like about the Jedi Order. Part of the reason why they failed, in my opinion. Aside from just being overconfident in their own presence, that they can, get played how they did, but the lack of emotion. Hey, look, man, I'm a nerd at heart. I'm a big superhero fan, and hey, the biggest thing we hear in all these hero movies is it's the love for my family what makes me stronger.
Yeah,
Come on,
and
man.
that it is one of the great fallacies of the Jedi. But that's the whole thing between Jedi and Sith is that
But they still die saving people. It.
well the Jedi lost sight of who they really were is what we see in the movies. That's why like their hubris destroys them because one they're so prideful, and two like the irony of it all is that the way I look at it is that the Jedi are trying to learn their best with that they have this power, but they can't let their emotions control them because it could do horrible things and make them horrible people. But what they're really trying to do in the end is they're trying to just be human. Like they're
Man,
really that's really the end goal, but they don't know what the end goal is. They're trying to be us.
if they were to procreate and then just bring their families up in the Jedi belief system, we got a good world and an ongoing future of Jedi. You know,
But I mean, you
two
can't
birds, one
always
stone.
true, but you can't always anticipate the bad that's going to happen. What happens if one of your sons has a girlfriend and she cheats on
Yeah, but
him?
you can say that with your Padawan or like.
We'll see where the dilemma comes up.
I
It's
yeah,
like,
I totally get that, but part of the training, your job as a master is to teach your Padawan to be in tune with their emotions and to train them to not give in to your anger. Do not
the
give
guy.
in to your anger. You know, that's mommy and daddy's job.
But see, that's the problem to me. It's just that, like, another thing is that Jedi have been known to procreate. I mean, like, Kiadi Mundi, the guy with the like tall head, um, he actually had 7 wives. Not a lot of people know that, but that's because his species
That was
was
the
like
cone
on.
head dude, right? With the white
Yep,
eyebrows and whatnot. Okay.
yep. His species was actually going extinct, so he actually had 7 wives in order to help re- bring back that population. So, like, there are weird rules within the Jedi Order and stuff like that where they make exceptions and stuff like that. If he was not a Jedi Master, they probably would not have allowed it to happen. But since he reached the rank of Master, they trusted him to be able to keep himself in control and just pretty much still be a Jedi and not have attachment about it. But not every Jedi who procreates makes Force sensitive offspring. Part of the reason they also don't do it is because it goes against the Force. Is another way I guess you could say or frame it. It's not what they think I would say, but the Force chooses who is Force sensitive. You can't just make them.
I want to see a wrinkle at if there's anything, you know. I know we talked earlier about me not wanting retcons. I want to see stuff connect. But if there's any retcon, I wouldn't even really call this a retcon, more of just an additional explanation of the Force. Because they were taught to not use their emotions, but Sith are taught to use their hate. We're never really taught, and maybe the books taught us. I'm ignorant on most of that. Again, I admit, I definitely refer to you on that. But maybe love gives us a different power.
Oh yeah.
Can
I
we
mean, look
explore
how
that maybe in the next order, the next rendition, maybe the Great Beyond? They're
well,
force users that use love, and they're like all powerful. What?
it's funny you say that. What do you think was driving Anakin the whole time?
Love that got turned against them. Yes,
That it's the problem. It was.
but
It
the
was.
lack
He
of
was.
emotion got clouded. They got clouded, and they were all destroyed
Look,
by that same dude.
look where love took Anakin. It took him far. It made him powerful. And the problem was, is he was not ready for loss. That
And I believe that he was the they. Okay, how can I put this? They didn't give him enough care and attention. I don't mean like babying him, but
well, see,
if
that's
there were more of a father figure instead of bringing him up at war times, and they're all just generals and whatnot.
well,
Maybe
see,
that's what he needed, some real guidance.
that's where that more of that dilemma comes in because the Jedi Code makes sense and it works. It's just like we've only seen its failures at its critical points. But like Anakin, the whole reason he had drive and everything was because of love. He just wasn't prepared for loss, and that's where attachment came in. They were like, attachment is forbidden because he says it in the Clone Wars when he's talking to Padme. He's like, "We're told to have compassion." I would say that the Jedi Order promotes us to love, and like he's right. But it's attachment that's forbidden. You have to be able to let it go, and Anakin couldn't let it go. But as for the father
Good
figure
point.
thing, is that Anakin was supposed to be instructed and taught by Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon was the father figure he needed. Instead, he ended up with Obi-Wan, who ended up being his brother.
Yeah, good point.
And that's
Which
something that's talked about in like the many of the Star Wars circles I've been in, and that is oh the more or less how the story is supposed to go. Is that's why Anakin turned it out the way he did. But the
yeah,
thing is,
that's the duel of the fates. That was the meaning of it.
but that's the yeah that was the duel of fates. It was for the fate of this child, and we've also seen where that has happened, but it still failed in the end because Asajj Ventress was very close to her master. He was like a father to her, but when he died, she turned into a dark Jedi, and that's how we got the Asajj Ventress we got. So like it's a very fine line to walk because like I've heard this somewhere before, but like the dark side is like crack or heroin. Once you get a taste of it, the pull is so strong. It wants to bring you back. And not everyone who ends up becoming a Sith is strictly fueled by hate and anger. Those just lead to the dark side. They in the dark side, they're creed, which is different from the Jedi, is like my passions give me strength. Through my strength, my chains are broken. Through through my shackles are broken, I gain freedom, and something like that. So they're taught to follow their passions. Like Sith can love and everything too, but like some just take hate to a whole new level. I mean, that's what fueled and kept Maul alive. For Palpatine, it was power. He wanted power above all things, above all else. That was his passion. That's what made him so powerful. So that's how that kind of stuff works. But
I dig it.
so you said you're reading the Thrawn trilogy. So
Tron was dope too.
have you heard, seen, or is it mentioned of the Isla Muri?
Yes, that was in book one.
Aren't
Yes,
they interesting?
and I'm you know what? And I forgot to mention that last week. Thank you, because I don't know how much of the books they're going to use, with Thrawn going forward in the upcoming Heir to the Empire movie. But yes, the Islamare. I hope to see the Islamare.
Is he?
Do you think we gonna get him? Or
Oh,
will he have?
yeah.
Because they weren't with him on the Rebels series. We didn't get them in Rebels. So will
No.
they use the Great Beyond to
Well,
give us them?
think it. Think about this. I know we talked about it before. I can't remember if we put it in the last episode or not, but we were talking about the Yuuzhan Vong. Now, the Yuuzhan Vong, for you guys out there that don't know, Cliff Notes version, they are these horrible creatures that come from outside the galaxy that have attacked Thrawn's planet because Thrawn's planet sits on the very edge of the known galaxy. And they've been attacked by them all the time, so Thrawn and his people have always been aware of the threat. But the thing about the Vong, the Yuuzhan Vong, that makes them very special is they're completely immune to the Force, meaning that no Force abilities work on them. The lightsabers don't work on them, and all their armor, weapons, and ships are grown. They are all living creatures, so like it would not be a surprise if you look at one of their ships and it's like a fish or something, but it's alive. And here's the next thing: the Isla Muri. I think very much since the Isla Muri push the Force away, is how it's referenced in the book. So it's a barrier. Before Thrawn became a thing in the new Star Wars owned by Disney recently, Thrawn was never without an image without a Isla Muri on his shoulder, which looks like a little dragon lizard thing, like an iguana dragon
Yeah,
lizard
because the
thing.
tail always went across. Like I
And
saw
that's
those.
and that's how he protects himself against Force users. So Thrawn not only has to deal with one Jedi, but two now. So how is he going to protect himself, especially somebody as skilled and as well trained and aged as Ahsoka? Now,
Well, he do got two Dark Jedi with him. He will.
that's true,
But yeah,
but
I'm following you. I'm following you.
I'm thinking we're going to definitely see the Isla Muri because the Isla Muri can easily be a part of the same place where the Yuuzhan Vong come from. Yuuzhan Vong are immune to the Force. Does it work on them? It would only be not too much of a jump to say that Isla Muri are a natural thing that is where they grow up. So I would not be surprised if he is like brings out one of those suckers, and then all of a sudden, when Ahsoka's got him in a room or something like that, and Ezra, suddenly the Force doesn't work on him, and that Isla Muri protects him and pretty much a shield from the Force. And
Yeah, that would be perfect.
I guarantee you it's coming because like Thrawn is supposed to be this scary what is it, Doctor No, or what is it? No, Mr. Blodfell from like 007 with the little
Oh
cat and
wow.
everything. Yeah, so the Isla Miri is gonna be like his little like cat that he keeps with him.
Let's do it. That would be a great way to bring it into the universe. Um, okay, so you led into it. Um, this is kind of what we want to see from not only episode 6 but from beyond, aka the great beyond. This like this is our first look at a different galaxy far far away. What do you
And I know. I'm pretty excited. I like.
this is your chance, Dave. This is your chance to make your own thing.
Oh, that's the whole beauty of it, man. That is the whole beauty of it because guys like me, we have no idea. Like we've always known that there's been another galaxy
Nobody
out there.
does.
Like we've always known there's been another galaxy out there because other forces come into the galaxy far, far away and attack, but nobody ever goes over there, and we have no idea what it's like,
What if
what it
Hondo's
looks
hanging
like.
out? Like he pitched around somewhere.
That's
Man.
right, my
What
boy.
took you guys so long to get here? This is where I hang out. You
We've
found
been
me.
waiting.
You found me. Ha-ha.
This endeavor is no longer profitable.
What is his I can't do the pig squeal.
Milch.
The pig squeal make me cough.
The little Ugnaught. That's what they're called. The Ugnaughts.
Yes. I was, shout out
But
to Nick
here's
Nolte.
But here's something I've also heard and I'm also expecting. So it could be, so I'm going to put it this way. So this is how it went. We are going to see an ancient civilization that has existed for a very long time. And I don't remember the exact reference or quote where I heard this. So I'm just going to go ahead and split it into the two things I think it is. And I'm just going to say it here first. Either what they're referencing is that whatever this new thing is or old thing is, it's going to be the new version or the equivalent of what is the Yuuzhan Vong. They may not be called the Yuuzhan Vong because Thrawn's people call them the Grist or something like that. So they might be going by a whole totally different name. They might look different, but I'm pretty sure that they're just using old legends material, and it's the Yuuzhan Vong. That's what I'm going to call them for now. The other option here is that if they're not referencing the same thing and they are totally separate in the statement, we might see some ancient Rakatans. Now, ancient Rakatans are the guys that pretty much seeded the galaxy and made it into what it is. They were the ones that pretty much created lightsabers. They were the ones that taught people how to use the Force. And then just one day, they all disappeared. Like they were the first ones. So I hope we see both. But now that I think about it, if that statement is kind of ambiguous in the way of that, like, okay, Dave Filoni said that we're going to see an ancient civilization that's gone a long time, and there's only one survivor, is what he said. Like, you're going to meet him, and you're going to see him, and he's like thousands of years old. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. But I'm thinking it's going to be a Rakatan, and you'll know.
So dope.
And you'll know if it's a Rakatan if like his eyes are on the side of his head, like this, like eyeball here, and his head in the center is in the shape of like a cone. That's a Rakatan. So I'm guessing we will see. I'm gonna say we're gonna see both. I'm saying that we're gonna see the Rakatan dude, and he's the last one of his species, and they're gonna talk to him. They're gonna learn about some ancient stuff, Force stuff from him, and then they're also gonna encounter the Yuuzhan Vong, which is probably the greater threat, because Balin is like, I'm doing this for the greater good, and I'm like, you know who also did shit for the greater good was Revan and Malak. And they ran across some ancient Rakatan technology, which is really, really advanced. And maybe he's going there to find that technology or rebuild the Jedi Order in his own image. Just my guess, because
I like it. Aha. I like it.
This is all coming from the Knights of the Old Republic stuff because that big map they had, the ball, is called a star map. Now, the first time we ever heard what a star map was from Knights of the Old Republic, just the same place where we learned about the cotton. So I think they are related. So if we're gonna meet this one guy who's thousands of years old, and we get a star map, I'm like, okay, we're gonna see this fish-headed looking motherfucker, and he's gonna say some stuff, like, and he's gonna tell him about some ancient technology, some crazy stuff you haven't heard of, stuff that would make the emperor wet his pants
I dig it.
with
I
with
dig it.
joy,
I dig
with
it.
joy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all are as excited as I am for the future of Star Wars. For the first time, no one has a clue what's coming. Let
Yeah,
that sink in and enjoy it. Embrace it. Oh man. Get in these
um,
comments, man. Tell us if
seatbelt
you
on,
love
and
this
I'm ready to
episode.
lock in.
Yeah, man. Man, look, ladies and gentlemen, drop a like if you enjoyed episode 5 of Ahsoka. Oh man, before we get out of here, Stu, man, my dog. You got
Yeah,
anything else? Anything that I neglected to mention, or that you want to
yeah.
let the people know?
I kind of would like to talk about Huang a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Huang, he was there being all melancholy, he's holding Sabine's helmet and everything, and first thing he said is, I told them to stick together. They never stick together. They never listen to me.
I was expecting a surprise message on that helmet, by the way.
But hey, I like that psychonometry that Ahsoka was able to pull out.
Yes, the echoes.
hmm That,
Yes.
see,
Fallen
not
Order,
all,
shout out.
yeah, not a lot of Jedi can do that. Normally, that's something that was like, if people could do it, it's usually very unique to them. Ahsoka, she's never been able to do that before, but now that she's much older, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised because she's very well trained. So,
And we got a little bit of that when she went back to Sabine's to the communication tower where Sabine was staying at after her fight with Shin Hati. We got a
yeah,
little bit of that. So yeah, I neglected to mention that. Yes, yes, I'm glad you brought that up. That was a great, interesting new ability. How convenient. See what you did there, Dave. But I'm not
well,
mad at it.
she did
I
it
like
first.
her having this ability. And uh, say that again.
She did it first in the first episode when she dropped
In
into the
in the
puzzle.
tomb. Yeah, yeah. You're right. She did. Um, checkmate. You got me on that one.
But I will say this. So like Huang was talking with Jason, and that was pretty cool too. He's like, "Oh, like a Jedi starship. Okay, cool." And he's like, where are you gonna trade me?
No.
No. Do you know how to build a lightsaber? Yes. Will you show me? No.
Yes,
I
that
thought
was
that was pretty
perfect.
cool. I was
I
like,
did too.
but
But when the time comes, hopefully Hu Yang, I hope Hu Yang survives through this whole ordeal, and it would be fitting for when the time comes for Hu Yang to actually help him build his lightsaber. That would be
oh
pretty cool.
man, I
Um,
think Ezra's gonna get back, and Ezra's gonna take up teaching Jason because
I
it's his.
agree, one
I
hundred
think it's.
percent.
I think it's only appropriate because it's his master's son.
And week by week, these are the nuggets that are telling us he will get trained. Like last week, I want to, or was it the week before? I want to be a Jedi. And then this week,
He's showing to
can
have
you show
talent.
me? Yeah. Um, the tea leaves are there. They're telling us yes.
I
You
like that.
you will see this little motherfucker use the force.
I like the tea leaves thing. Over here, I would have been like, "How come not like me?" like Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah. It's coming. Hey, I keep reverting back to what you said. Hey, Dave doesn't just put things out there for nothing. Everything gets used. Remember all the details. I watch for details.
It
I watch
really.
with a very analytical eye with everything when it comes to sports or the comic stuff.
I thought about a way to phrase it better this time around because yeah, and thank you. But yeah, everything Dave does in there has a purpose. It is not a mistake. It is not a callback. It's everything is connected and got a use. And this is how I like to think of Dave. Hey guys, I got a little puzzle here for you to solve. See that image on it? It's real cool, ain't it? But here's the thing. You got to put the puzzle together. And then he's like, oh, and one last thing. The image on the back tells you the end of the story. Dumps it on the ground. He's like, have fun with it. And then leaves.
Yeah.
Like, you're just picking up puzzle pieces. You're like, like that's exactly what he does. And it's all connected from the music to the scenes, the scenery, to the items, to the characters, the dialogue. You have to pay close attention because everything is connected and it's all there. That's what I love about him is that he's not hiding anything from you. He's giving you all the chances to put things together. And that's what makes his stuff really good is that in the end people utterly love it because they can recall every scene and moment. Like that moment I was looking at the helmet on the ground. I don't know why I was staring at it, but it had some purpose and now it makes sense. And damn it, Dave, you're just that goddamn good.
Yeah, that's why when they showed the helmet, that's why I kept thinking it was a message. I was like, "It's something about that helmet." I kept trying.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm surprised about is that Sabine doesn't have her jetpack.
Yeah, good point. Why have we not seen this jetpack?
I
What
think
happened to it?
I think it's one of those sly little dog things that Dave does. Like he probably could not get Tamora Morrison because of budget, right? He's like, either we can have a really cool like lightsaber battle with Ahsoka and Anakin, or we could get Tamora Morrison. He's like, sorry, Tamora, we got to have this lightsaber battle. And then like, here's another thing. It's like, oh, we could get like Sabine flying through the air and doing cool things. And he's like, or we could carry on with the story and focus on more important parts that I think people need to focus on. So maybe how about some flashbacks with Ahsoka? Now I'm just using those as comparisons. I'm pretty sure that's not what he did, but like I'm pretty sure the whole jetpack, the note to Tamora Morrison was stuff he probably had to make decisions on in order to get us a better story and to flow into it. But
Yeah,
that's the cool thing that he's always done is that he's worked with what he's got. He's worked with
it's
less.
kind of
And
like what Marvel did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Star Lord conveniently didn't have his mask when he drifted off into space in that last up in the end of part three.
I really like the Sistine Chapel painting where God and man meet thing. He's like
Yeah, I caught
that
that.
never gets old. Oh, man. But yeah, like I think that's really what it is. It's not something we should read into too much, but like I think it was like instead of getting Sabine going through the air doing some pretty cool stuff. Not to mention, if she could have flown and everything, then the whole fight with Shin Hati would have been a little bit weird. You know,
Yeah,
like how would that have played out? So with her being grounded and everything, like we get to see her actually fight and display her skills, and you know, not her going off screen and being like, "Oh, we have to go over there now." Okay, I'll see you there. Like and just flies far away and gets to the objective before Ahsoka did because she wouldn't have walked through the forest and they wouldn't have gotten divided and fought American Hot.
yeah. I tell you what though, at some point in time, um, while we have this actress playing Ahsoka, I mean, Sabine, forgive me, or season finale or something, I want to see Sabine with the jetpack. She was a badass with the jetpack. She was dope with that thing, and I want to see, you know, see her flying up, shooting down, give me that Rebels look. And speaking of Rebels look, I'm loving the actress. I dig the purple hair and all that. I wish we had a little bit of the white in there. I like that the white
I
hair
did.
look.
That was my favorite hairstyle of hers. Was the
Yeah, man. Yeah, I wish we
now,
had that, but I'm not
now
mad. I nitpick. That's a nitpick
I will say this: her hair kind of looks weird in live action now. I think they should have made it a
because it
little
don't have
bit
that
longer.
swirl at the
Yeah,
end.
it
It
doesn't
used to
have
have that swirl. That
the swoop. But
in animation it doesn't move.
well, before we end things, though, there is one other thing I do want to mention that I keep forgetting that I would just like to say the name at least in case it actually becomes a thing, and that is the Valley of the Jedi. The Valley of the Jedi is something from like legend stuff, but really what it's from the Jedi Knight Academy games. There's a guy named Kyle Katarn. The whole thing of who Kanan Jarrus is based off of Kyle Katarn. You look at Kyle Katarn, you look at Kanan Jarrus, and you're like, I see what you did there. You got it from that guy. Now, Kyle Katarn had a particularly cool story as a character, and I'm not trying to get us too off topic here with Ahsoka, but the reason I'm mentioning it is Kyle Katarn had a job, and his job was to protect something called the Valley of the Jedi. It was a well of force energy, a bright yellow light, and like anyone who goes into it comes out force sensitive. So it literally can make you force sensitive, a Jedi. And he was charged with being the guardian of it and protecting it. And I'm wondering if something like that could happen where they're going and Sabine walks into a force well and comes out force sensitive on the other side.
That would be interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm curious as to how people feel about that. Do we want to see Sabine as a Jedi? Do we want to see her use her force powers, or do we want to see her just stick to her Mandalorian guns? Pun intended. Um, so let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see how people feel about that. I'm kind of both ways on that.
I am
Because I
too.
love the Sabine that has been established. It's the reason we love Sabine. She's a great character as is. Do we want to see her power up a little bit more? Do we want to change the mythos up? And I like the flaw of her wanting to be a Jedi but not able to use the Force, or at least you know
That's
a little
where
bit.
that's where things will be interesting. Like you said, man, I feel the same way about it. I would be happy if Sabine remained a Mandalorian. I would also be happy if she became a Jedi.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain in either way. I'm curious to see the plan going forward, but yeah, they don't have to change her. She's already a great character. Just
But
give
I
her a
will say
freaking
this.
jetpack.
I will say this though. If I had to put a vote to it, she's going to be a Jedi.
Yeah, all signs point to yes on this.
You think so too?
I mean, why are they training her from the jump, from the get go? And now Ahsoka just went through this. This is gonna make her a better trainer. I mean, a better apprentice. Eventually, I'll get it right. A better master.
There
Um,
you go.
but so all signs are pointing to it. Dave doesn't give us anything by accident. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, um,
I think Ezra's going to tell her some pretty insightful and wise stuff. I think Ezra's going to be a lot wiser when we see him.
yeah, he's gonna be pretty zen.
He's going to say some stuff to Sabine that Sabine really needs to hear in order to complete her training. Like, or at least get the grasp of it. Because like I guarantee you, she's going to try and hand him that lightsaber back, and he's like, "It's not mine.
Yeah,
Where is it?"
that's yours. I and I'm glad you mentioned Ezra too, real quick before we get out of here. One
Oh
thing that I
wow.
hope for is I want to see, maybe there's some new power out there. I like the Islamare thing. Absolutely. But maybe there's some new power out there, since you can't use the Force. And I like for Ezra to have learned it while he was there and be the one to come back and is like the new Luke Skywalker going forward, so to for lack of a better name. Um, but I don't know. What you think about that?
Well, I don't want to make this any much more longer since we're coming to the end. All I know is this. We can't emphasize it enough. I can't emphasize it enough. Literally no idea what's gonna happen. Like like this is the first time in everybody like continuing forward since like maybe the formation of the original trilogy. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. Like I mean, you've listened to me talk about multiple theories all of a sudden. Like I told you about the Yuuzhan Vong, the Rakatan. Now I'm telling you about the Valley of the Jedi, the a Force well that can anyone who enters in it comes out Force sensitive. And another thing that just like when you mentioned Ezra, and it'll be my last thing, is that I think you're absolutely right, but I think when Ezra got to wherever he is, he's gonna feel a strong obligation to stay, is what I'm thinking. I think that's gonna be the real twist in the matter that's gonna cause some problems. He's gonna be like, I can't leave. And I think it's gonna be because wherever it is he is at, he believes and it is required that there is a guardian to stay there and protect something.
I can dig that. And I agree. I think that's gonna be a big pull. But I think Thrawn leaving is gonna get Ezra up out of there. I feel like that's we Luke Skywalker was connected to Vader and Palpatine. I feel like this is Thrawn is Ezra's Palpatine. And I feel like that connection is gonna make him come in the long run. But I don't know. I like the idea of Ahsoka getting there, getting out the whale's mouth. Whoa, thank you. But her getting out the whale's mouth, getting off the ship. Who you ain't stay here. Guard the ship. Although got no clue what we gonna use it on. But get out there and try to fight, and none of her force powers work. Her lightsaber is nullified, and
Mm-hmm.
someone has to come and save her, i.e., the Rakatan or something like that. That's what I want to see. I want to see her get out there using what we expect to get out there looking like a Jedi badass ready for war, and it doesn't freaking work.
I mean, we talked about
Everybody
it last
mind blown.
time too. Like, there's also a very good potential that wherever Thrawn and Ezra ended up, it's like being on a stranded island. You may have been fighting before, but now y'all got to work together to survive. So I would not be surprised if they were like, if they aren't when they get there working together. There is some mention that like Thrawn and Ezra had to work together for several years in order to survive there.
Yeah,
But like I said, man, like the potential's endless. We have no idea what it's gonna be.
yeah,
But I
they can
really
take
hope
it.
we see that Isla Miri though. That would
Me
be
too.
so dope. I would
Me
love to
too.
just see little pet dragons that sit on your shoulders.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Um, hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Star Wars fan, get ready to see all of your Star Wars knowledge and everything that you know just flipped upside down, flipped on its axis. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and flip on up out of here. And we're going to catch you on the flip side. Okay, too many flips. But you see what I did there. Um, but if you're with us, if you're still here sticking around, thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it because it helps the algorithm so much. And you know what else helps? Likes. It's free for you. It doesn't cost you anything. It means the world to us. It helps us get better. It helps us tell YouTube we serious about this ish. You dig? But man, drop us likes, share us, subscribe to us, and comment. Talk to us. We'll talk back. I promise you. But man, Stu Dog, another one
Sir,
in the books.
Oh yeah.
You my dog. I'm loving this. I appreciate this. And ladies and gentlemen, hey, shameless plug. If you want to see more of John Jay, tune in to On My Sports, also on YouTube. Um, but from the Street Geeks, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch y'all later. Keep it nerdy.
Later, fellas.
Peace.